Hey, what is up guys, Pancho Cortez, and for this video series I'm going to be discussing vintage footwear, what is best to wear, and I'm going to go into kind of the history of each shoe I'm talking about. Now this is part one, so I'm going to be discussing boots and just overall work footwear. The first shoe I'm going to get into is the Doc Marten boot 8-hole 1460 style. Now this one is the most common one that is seen either at ska shows, it's popular with punks, it's definitely in with the rockabilly crowd, and it's very popular with just counterculture movement in general. Now Doc Martens was founded in 1945 by Klaus Marten from Germany. He created this footwear just so it could be comfortable, and it was a great alternative to what was available at the time. Originally it was popular with women, but then it got some international notoriety, and by 1959 they were sold around the world. In 1960 they were introduced to the UK, which they were sold. If you look at the different movements such as skinheads, punks, ska kids, rockabillys, they definitely sport this one for sure. It's also popular workwear as well, since it was used by a lot of blue collar workers in England, and to this day it's still used as work footwear, but people use it more in a casual setting. Personally, me, I wear the Doc Marten 1460 style with wide cut jeans, particularly the 559 Levi's, just because it looks better. You're not putting too much emphasis on your feet and everything's in proportion. The next boot I'm going to get into is the engineer boot or the motorcycle boot. Now this one came about in 1937 by the Chippewa Company. Originally it was used for agriculture purposes, but then got into the locomotive field because of the embers that would hit their feet, so they needed something to protect it. Outside of Chippewa, Red Wing started making their own rendition of the boot as well in the early 40s, which became popular. And after World War II, the atomic age set in, and motorcyclists started using the boot as well, hence why it got the name the motorcycle boot. In 1953, Marlon Brando really popularized the boot in his film The Wild One, and really most people associate it now with just greasers, rockabillys, and counterculture movement in the early 50s. When I usually wear it, I prefer a black color. People sometimes go with the square toe. I usually go with the round toe just because it looks a lot better. It's not as clunky looking, and it has a smoother flow to it in your outfit. Normally when I sport it, I go with the 559 Levi's, wider cut in the leg. Since this has a bigger heel, you're going to want to go with a wider leg instead of just a narrower one with the skinny or just the original. Definitely go with something that's not too baggy, but just a little bit looser. Now this boot in particular is very popular with Americans just because it is associated with the mythology of the West, and that is the cowboy boot. The cowboy boot has been around since the 1860s. After the Civil War, and was part of the expansion out west. Now this boot was popular out west in particular because it was useful for ranching purposes as well as horseback riding, since it was specifically made for saddles and riding. The thickness of the heel as well was good for just walking outside and work conditions. Obviously in today's modern times we've adapted it into films. People such as Roy Rogers, John Wayne, Clint Eastwood have all sported the boot in their cowboy films. It's also popular with other Tarantino movies. If you look at Mr. Blonde's character from Reservoir Dogs, he sports cowboy boots as well. So it's obviously a staple of American culture. It was first integrated into casual wear in the 1920s after it had been adapted into film, and it had just really caught on with the cosmopolitan setting. Obviously people wear it now and they have different variations of the boot. Personally me, I like to wear a white t-shirt. I'll go with the 559 or the 501 jeans when wearing this. The only reason why is because the foot is different. If you look at the toe, it's usually got a pointed toe, sometimes a big heel. It all depends on what size heel you're going for. Other popular colors are definitely black, white, and brown. They're different colors, but those are the ones I see frequently the most. There are different kinds of toes that you can get. I've seen the chiseled, pointed, square. Personally me, I prefer the chiseled or the pointed just because it looks a lot better, and a square toe, it looks clunky and doesn't look good with the outfit. Now cowboy boots are definitely popular with different people such as teddy boys, greasers, rockabillys, obviously cowboys. So that is my first part on vintage footwear. Stay tuned for next one where I'm going to be talking about casual footwear such as loafers and sneakers. Thanks for watching guys. Like, share, and subscribe for more.
Look like somebody to slice your face up.
Oh, you mother.
Your face up. Did somebody... You want a nigga?